Imagine this, you just got all your hi-fi components to make an incredible hi-fi system. You set it all up, take a few hours to listen, and something just doesn't seem right. You swap cables, you start to doubt your DAC, but then you realize it's the source that needs a change. Scotty G here from ListenUp, and today I'm with Nick Lucini to talk about the Eversolo Transport. What is it? Why would you want it? Who's the guy that would buy it? Welcome, Nick.
Thanks, Scotty. Happy to be here.
So, for someone seeing the T10 for the first time, what is this product and what problem is it designed to solve?
So it's a standalone streaming transport. And, really, what is that for? It's for the person who already has a DAC in their system, maybe an integrated with a DAC. I think, people that are kind of looking to downsize a lot, you're seeing a lot of customers going into these that have integrateds with built-in DACs. You just add a streaming transport and you're good to go. So really it's for the person that has a DAC they're already comfortable with or is looking to purchase an additional DAC, and then they can go into a streaming transport like the T10.
I think the word transport is where people can get tripped up. Just to make it clear, the T10 is a DAC?
It's not. So, and I understand why that trips people up, because it actually comes from CD transports. I think the easiest way to think about it is a transport, either CD transport or a streaming transport, is just transporting the bits. So the digital audio, it's sending it to a DAC with an output stage. So transport, we're literally just transporting digital audio to a digital audio converter. So it has no analog audio components in it whatsoever.
So would you rather feed the T10 into a standalone DAC or into, say, an amp or maybe a CD player with a DAC built into it? Does that matter?
It doesn't matter. I mean, whatever, it's really designed to fit into what your system is. So if you have a CD player with a built-in digital input, if you have a DAC with a built-in digital input, like I said before, if you have it integrated with the digital input, it's what fits you and your system best.
Here's the question a lot of people ask. If this is still digital audio, why does the source matter?
Okay, two things. I think the first and most important thing, though, is timing, right? And with digital audio, there is the potential that things can get out of time. I'm kind of making it a very simple explanation, but timing and also noise. So let's take running USB out of a computer as an example, right? So people, I can just use my Mac Mini. Well, yeah, but unfortunately, the USB output's very noisy. So really with a high-end transport, one is, and really specifically in the T10, there's an excellent clock in it. And additionally, we've got really low noise outputs. Those are the two main things that make a big difference in the actual performance that you're getting out of your speakers at the end of the day.
I like that because it keeps the conversation grounded. This is not about magic. It's about the source being a strong point in your system.
Correct. And really, if you have a source first mentality, which, signal flow and these things, that can really make a big difference.
When a customer looks at the back of a transport like this, they see a lot of connection options. How should someone think about choosing the right output for their system?
Well, one, it's going to depend on what the input they have available to them, right? So remember, going back to this again, maybe you have an integrated that, only has an optical or a SPDIF input, right? Or maybe you have a higher end DAC that has something like I²S or USB or something like that. So that's going to dictate mainly what it is. Now, however, there are advantages to choosing some of the specific outputs, I²S being one, USB being another one that allows really kind of, the full bandwidth to go out to your DAC. So that will influence your choice. First, what you have available, and second, what kind of fidelity you're looking for.
So it's less about saying one output is always the best and more about matching the T10 to your system requirements. But also a couple of features on here that sound more advanced. SFP Fiber and external clock input. How would you explain those without making them sound like homework?
Yeah, so we'll go back actually to both things that I've mentioned earlier, timing and noise. And we'll start with SFP. If you have a fiber converter, you can go into the Eversolo T10 with the fiber connection. You eliminate all of the noise that's on a traditional Ethernet RJ45 connector, because now we're no longer on a copper wire. We're actually using light when we're using fiber. So there's some great affordable fiber adapters out there. There's some really awesome high-end ones that you can use. All of those make a huge difference. I would even argue that going fiber into some of these transports is one of the best upgrades that you can make to your stereo. It's certainly the best upgrade that you can make to your source.
That's a good way to say it. Not homework, just headroom.
Yeah, and the clock input as well. We'll actually be having a clock that's coming out later this year. Don't have any details on it yet, but it was talked about at High in Vienna recently. So that's going to be kind of a whole system where you can have the external clock with the Eversolo stuff. You can get our DAC as well. So it's all coming, but having the external clock, again, one of the big upgrades over the T8 is actually the internal clock. But when the new clock's available, it's going to be an even bigger upgrade for the rest of your system. So clocking's kind of becoming a bigger thing in hi-fi, where traditionally it had been more involved in like commercial and professional applications, but it's cool to see it in some of the hi-fi pieces that are coming out now. So,
well, nice. So if a customer doesn't need those features on day one, why should they get the T10 over the T8?
There's a few key differences. The one that's going to make the biggest performance difference is the actual internal clock. So that's a big upgrade. Now we're an oven-controlled clock inside, which again helps with timing, versus the T8. Outside of that, that's the biggest performance difference. There's also going to be some usability things. There's a faster processor in here. There's more memory, which just kind of means a more kind of snappy loading album artwork, things like that. More snappy user interface. Bigger screen. Those are the main things that are going to kind of, be the difference between the T8 and the T10.
A lot of people don't listen to music from just one place anymore. They have streaming services, saved albums, playlists, local files, maybe even an NAS, maybe even USB storage. And some still have CDs. How does the T10 fit that real-world mix?
Yeah, so another actual difference is actually the upgradable storage that you can add to it is actually you have a larger capacity with the T10. But all of those sort of source formats that you mentioned are all capable of running off of the T10. So you want to point the T10 at a NAS, you want to plug in a USB thumb drive. All of these things work no problem with the T10. It's an extremely flexible box for just about anybody who, whether you're streaming off of Spotify, whether you're using, your NAS, it's all available to be accessed from the T10 via the app.
The screen is the first thing people notice. In daily use, what does that display actually add?
No, it's cool. There's a ton of different meter options, VU options. You can actually, everything that you can do from the app, you can do on the screen, which is really cool. You can even kind of mirror the screen on your phone, which makes, using it very nice. So from your couch or up on the unit, so you can access libraries, access streaming, change the way that it looks. It's a really, really neat feature. In fact, bigger on the T10 as well, so you just get more of what's cool.
As someone who works with customers, I think that matters. People like to be able to see what the system is doing instead of feeling like everything is buried in an app.
It absolutely matters. And like I said, everything is accessible via the screen. You can use the remote, you can use your phone, you have all of that available to you. So from a customer standpoint, if you want, you can have the screen off. Maybe you don't like the screen. I don't know why you wouldn't, but that might be the case. So it's a really neat thing that you get to look at every day when you're listening to music. And I think, part of that experience when you're listening to music is what you're sitting in front of. And it's why we've invested all of this time and money. We're sitting there. We can actually get some feedback of what's going on. And I think that's a really cool experience for people.
Let's put this into buying guide terms. Who is the T10 really for? And who might be better served by a different Eversolo product?
I think that the T10 is really for that enthusiast that's looking to kind of take the next step in the sort of digital realm. We have other great products. The A6 as an example is much more affordable. It does kind of everything for you. We've also got products like the A10 that puts a DAC in the same box. It does everything for you as well, just at a much higher level. But the T10's for that person that's kind of, maybe they've already got a DAC. Maybe they've got it integrated with the built-in DAC, right? Maybe they already have that sort of conversion solution figured out. The T10 makes a great addition to their stereo. Someone wants to mate it with the Z10 and have a really nice looking stack, it's for that person too. So, I think at the end of the day, Eversolo in general is for the enthusiast that appreciates performance, but also appreciates a very good value.
This is where a conversation with ListenUp helps. The DAC, the amplifiers, the application, all those things, determining whether the T10 or some other Eversolo product is ideal for you. If someone is curious about the T10, what should they think about before they come in or reach out?
Well, I mean, one great thing about ListenUp is that you guys have so many qualified salespeople, even you, right? So, folks, really, you don't need to know a whole lot. Just come in and speak with a professional that can tell you these things. But, what are you going to be plugging it into, I think, is the first thing that you think about. Do you already have a DAC? Do you have a solution for conversion? That's the main thing. Then, really, what sort of source are you going to be feeding into it? You can come in and let the folks, you or anybody else, whoever they're calling in, talking to in the stores, that's all they really need to know. And then, you guys can guide them down the right path.
That's a good place to land, because the T10 is not really about adding another box just for the sake of it. It's about giving the DAC and the rest of the system a source that is easier to live with and more intentional. You can visit listenup.com or stop by one of our local stores to learn more about how the T10 may fit into your system. Nick, man, thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome, Scotty. Thanks for having me.